Here we are in week 8 already. Let me bring up some slides and explode those and make this guy bigger. Week 8, next week is spring break. Doesn't feel much like spring around here, and I don't think it does where you are, but we are marching ahead. Um, the second half of the course is going to be really predicated on refining, polishing, and making more precise and more data filled your final projects, because I want those to be special creations that you can use to apply for jobs or just to show what kind of thinking that you can go through, whether you're looking for a job or if you're looking for a promotion. I think something like this, which is a creative endeavor, which shows a business acumen and which shows the ability to put a number of different ideas together in a coherent whole, can be very valuable to you as you go through your career, just as a thinking exercise, but also as an example of what you can do. So I'm going to talk a little bit about that this week as well. The book talks about PR as part of the IMC umbrella. I want to go through that and disengage from some of their concepts or their, I would say, belittlement of PR as part of marketing and advertising, because I have obviously a different point of view, and I think you should too. But I do want to focus on a couple of elements of the PR marketing mix and talk about those and how they are expanding and how they have ups and downs and pros and cons. So we'll do that. And then I'll take you through a couple of pages of a very good final project, which is on Blackboard. And I'm not asking you to use it as a model, but as kind of a template, kind of a checklist by which you can go through and say, this is a good element. Does my project have that element in what the right form for my project? Let's see that. Okay. First, let's talk about the integration of PR into marketing. First of all, I don't accept that premise. I think that PR, and if you've taken other courses with me, you know, I think PR should be the brains behind the entire promotional marketing communications effort in virtually every company. That doesn't mean we should tell Walmart how to sell its stuff, but if I were working on the Walmart headquarters staff, I would certainly have a voice in how Walmart presents itself in the many neighborhoods and towns and cities across the country, how it represents itself, how it operates on a human level, and how its goals for being branded. I was in Walmart. They built a new Walmart near my house about a year and a half ago. And I was in there one afternoon, and I had my phone, and I'd looked up a product that I was looking for. I can't even remember what it was, but it said it was in aisle X. And I went through the store twice, and I could only find aisles labeled up to S. So I went to this guy who was standing in the front. He looked like, he had a badge on. He was kind of a middle management type. And I asked him, where is this product? He said, I don't know. I'm not, we're just setting up the store, so I don't know everything. But he went around and asked different people until he found out that this X is the aisle of stuff up near the checkout counters, the cashiers. And so that, in my mind, said Walmart has got this customer thing figured out, at least in one level. They're not a Nordstrom, and they're not the best. They're not USAA, who I think are the models of customer service. But they went out of their way to show me where this thing is, to find it, and then to show me where the product that I was looking for was. That's how PR can influence the whole communications program and the branding and the personality of an organization. It takes from the outside and says, how do people want to be treated when they come into our store? And providing that is a very valuable service that public relations people uniquely can bring to a corporation that deals with the public or deals with anybody outside itself. And it's because we look from the outside and we see how people are, how an organization is reflecting, how it is being viewed. Marketing people only see, here's what we want it to be viewed as, and we're going to promote materials and develop programs and campaigns that demonstrate our ability to project that image. Now, the feedback, they don't like feedback that doesn't link up with their image of what they're doing. So they don't ask those kinds of questions. They ask, if you were confronted with this situation, hypotheticals. We believe in reality. We like to know what is the real outcome of the communications program. So I think that's where I get off. That's where I get off the boat from the marketing people saying PR is just another part of the mix. It can be helpful sometimes, and it's really good in crisis situations. This chart says marketing PR. I've never heard that term until I came on this book. But it kind of makes sense. And there's a real integration going on where marketing and PR teams are coming together and working together more and more because it's efficient, it's cost effective. People have realized that the PR and the marketing have to sing out of the same songbook, and they have to be actively engaging with one another to make sure that that image, that personality of the organization comes through wherever the company is communicating. So the book says proactive marketing PR is dictated by marketing objectives. See, I take a step back from that and I say those marketing objectives has to be driven by the strategic objectives, which are not manipulated, that's the wrong word, which PR helps to establish. Because PR is strategic. We think about the big things, we think about the future, we think about issues that are going on in the environment where an organization operates. Offensively oriented, I mean, we take control, we want to be putting an image forward before we have to respond to it. So we're proactive. Credibility equals effectiveness. PR is all about credibility. We know the ways to engage. We know the ways to be credible. We know the ways to be responsible and responsive. And we know the ways to get the credible witnesses, the editors, the academics, the government experts on our side, because we speak to them in terms that they understand. We don't try and sell them. We are fact-based. And what do? We release products that have no hyperbole, that are factual and full of details. Executive statements have to go through PR because they affect so much of what the organization becomes known as. And we do feature articles that serve the purpose of the branding and building loyalty. We also react. We respond to outside influences. But I would suggest that we don't only react, but we observe and predict. I worked at the issues management I ran the issues management department at IBM for a while. And we were looking out at a 5 to 10-year horizon saying, what kinds of issues may the company face based on current trends, technology issues, legal and political issues inside the US and in the 89 countries around the world where the company was doing business. So it was a very broad portfolio, but we had to think about, well, how can these things play out to the company's benefit or to the detriment, and how do we put practices in place to make sure that the downside is not very great and the upside is much better, and influence the strategy of the company, influence the decisions, the operational decisions of the company. The next bullet says, attempt to repair the company's reputation to prevent market erosion and regain lost sales. This, in a nutshell, shows you what marketing people and the advertising people who wrote this textbook think about PR. PR is only a way to help sales, stop market place decline, market share decline, and regain lost sales. And I think it's bigger than that. I think it's stopping the issues before they get started, before they get too big to impact sales and market share. Quick positive responses, that's how we live. We live with our phones, we live with quick responses, we live with getting the information out as fast as possible and as honestly and as factually as possible. I'm looking at the current responses of the government in the coronavirus epidemic, series of situations, let's put it that way. And I think they're doing a good job. They're responding quickly. They bring the experts out very quickly. And even though some people are saying, well, your experts have to go through a vetting process. Well, okay, we just want to make sure that everybody's using the same language to tell the same story. We're not going to tell them what that should be, but if you're going to say something that means this is how we're going to couch it, or we want to make sure that your storytelling skills aren't in conflict with everybody else's. So I think that's a good example of how PR is responding to a current situation that could be deleterious to the overall fabric of the country and could cause some people some severe distress because they don't understand what's going on. Content marketing, providing content that provides information. It's information that's oriented towards the company. It talks good things about the company. It might explain company trip ups, but it's generally provided in the sense of, this is one of your favorite companies. It must be, or you wouldn't be on our website. So we're going to tell you the nice things that are going on. It's kind of a company newsletter for the outside world. Now, is this a bad thing? No. Can it be viewed as being overly sanguine, overly positive? Well, you have to understand, this is the company promoting itself. So PR should stay away from doing much of this because it's not our business to be positive in the face of problems. It's our role to solve problems by providing information and data and explaining things in the best possible way and showing that the company is operating in a good way, if we believe that. Otherwise, yeah, we're in a tough situation. But here's Coke doing this, talking about itself, providing loyal customers with options on getting products, or talking back to the company, or just feeling good about the product, which is an interesting behavioral approach and a challenge these days for Coca-Cola, which is seeing its market share and its sales of its key products, its main products, decline. This is one that I ran into recently. Um, this is the Wall Street Journal website, and on it is an ad, very boldly or obviously sponsored by China Watch, which is a government agency of the Communist Chinese government, or China, the PRC, the People's Republic of China. It's a daily publication that is published for English speakers. You may have seen last week that a number of the people who work for this have been expelled by our State Department because China was expelling journalists from China. And those people were working for this and a broadcast operation and a couple of other promotional operations for the Chinese government. But I use this because it demonstrates organic or native advertising, which is slightly disguised, but it reflects the tone and tenor and the design almost of the publications or the broadcasting arena where it's shown. This is an ad that says content from our sponsor. And if you're not reading carefully, you could say, oh, this is a sponsor of the Wall Street Journal. Well, in a sense, it is, because it's an ad on the journal's webpage, but it has nothing to do with the Wall Street Journal. You can see that down here below, where the Wall Street Journal made very carefully, made it clear the Wall Street Journal news organization was not involved in the creation of this content. They wanted to make sure that they were not being tagged with some of these stories, which are a little bit contradictory and obviously slanted toward making this Chinese government more attractive and less burdensome on the reading public. So these native advertising, as they're sometimes called, are used to mimic the organization or the place where they are published. Let me get rid of these. Clear drawings. Okay, and so they are seen as organic or native because they seem to fit in, but they are not. They are advertising, pure and simple. The Chinese government is buying space in the journal and on the website to promote its publications, which are PR vehicles or propaganda vehicles for the Chinese government. These range across the board. I was reading Fortune magazine this week, and every other, well, I mean, it was a special issue kind of, but like every 2 pages there was a sponsored infomercial or organic content about an organization or company with an ad on the opposite page. That used to be just, I mean, from my journalistic background, that's unheard of, but it was clearly labeled and there wasn't anything wrong with it per se, just the amount of it shocked me. I go back to infomercials, which were on cable TV, and they promoted products. They were blatant about it, but they kind of acted like they were news people, that they were doing an interview with this product developer because it was newsworthy. And it's kind of slid from there over to this China Watch thing or the Fortune magazine thing. So that's part of what we in PR have to watch out for, is making sure that we build a strong boundary and we don't attempt to mimic the organizations where we want to add, where we want information posted. And I would argue that we should argue against having advertising in a place where we like to place factual, data-filled articles, or have reporters talk to us about issues and products and people, because there is a slight overlap that can make our efforts seem less authoritative and less credible if it happens that our organization is also placing ads in the same area, in the same publication or broadcast network. Event sponsorships, a growing, exploding area. I've got a picture here of Sprint with NASCAR. They have created their own NASCAR Sprint series for speeding cars, for essentially drag racing. And, it's a perfectly fine thing, and it brings more entertainment to the world. And I'm sure that Sprint doesn't have anything to do with saying who's winning or losing. They're just saying, we want to be engaged with what is nominally the highest attended sporting events or series of sporting events, the most highly attended sporting program in the country, which is NASCAR. They'll get 200, 300,000 people on a weekend in a stadium to watch these cars. So it ties its brand to a meaningful athletic, entertainment, cultural, social, other type of high interest public. And it's a good thing for Sprint, although Sprint is merging now so that they don't need their brand as much. But you want to make sure, if you're doing this, is it a good image that you're putting forward? Is it your target audience the same as the event? Because it doesn't make any sense to sponsor something where people don't know who you are or don't use your product. Be careful you aren't misidentifying with something else because your name is not well known. So you're sponsoring something and people don't know who you are. I see this a lot in bowl games. There's like 40 bowl games, football bowl games every year. Some of them are sponsored by organizations I've never heard of, or some of them are like the Husqvarna, which is a bunch of chainsaws and outdoor equipment. And I'm sure that a majority of Americans don't have any idea what that's about. Are you flying in the face of too many ads? So this is a NASCAR issue. You can see FedEx and Caterpillar tractors on the hoods of these two cars they're racing as they race across a Sprint logo. That may just be too much. It results in confusion and disorientation. Is it in concert with the other work that you do, with other events, with your corporate logo? And is it a good buy for your corporate dollars? So those kinds of things are interesting, and PR should have a say in some of those elements. Certainly we want to understand, is the danger of NASCAR, is that something we would like to be associated with? There's also a big thing about climate change and about the emissions in car racing. Is that something that we should be concerned about? So thinking through the issues of all of these kinds of programs is a role that we can play, because we're concerned with image and we're concerned with current events. Cause-related sponsorships. NASCAR links up with different kinds of events to its credit. And Major League Baseball, likewise, stands up to cancer. Those are good things to be associated with. Again, the same kind of issues need to be addressed. Is it something, will you be able to stand out to your key audiences? Is it a good purchase decision? And are there other issues? I'm not sure I would want to be associated with the NFL right now. It's still popular, but it declined in viewership last season. There's still some controversies going on. So it's a question mark. Cause-related marketing is where companies contribute to a designated cause or get linked to a cause because they take some action because the customer takes some action that supports the company and its brands. So this is a way of getting your loyal consumers engaged and helping them to support a cause that they are engaged in and that they want to be successful. And by doing so, you lock them in. Now, there's a lot of different causes out there, and there's a lot of different people who want to promote different agendas. I hear it on the radio all the time. I get asked at various places when I'm checking out of a store if I want to contribute to something. So cause related is good for philanthropies, and they are in trouble because of the tax law that was passed last year, which made personal deductions not as valuable to individuals. So they're going for these cause-related marketing approaches so that they can continue to survive and to be supported by a different class or different range of people. If you were to advise your organization to get engaged in one of these, you want to make sure that it is in concert with your corporate or brand image. For example, you wouldn't want an anti-smoking or a Mothers Against Drunk Driving to be sponsored by Budweiser. That just doesn't make sense. And Budweiser might say, yes, but we want to promote safe and intelligent consumption of our products. It doesn't work for me. It may head off some negative publicity if you are engaged with an organization, and there may be some time when you're going to get bad events that you need to respond to. You can rely on that organization to be your support. Incremental sales, if people are thinking about it, or if they know that you are doing things well, they might just say, okay, I'm going to choose your brand over another brand. Brand awareness and brand loyalty come out of that because they say consumers or potential consumers would say, I like what that company is doing. I support that cause. I'm going to make a special effort to contribute or to participate or to help friends to get engaged. Bigger customer base, new market segment, similar ideas, and increase sales at the retail level. In other words, they choose your product over another one because of the work that you're doing. Yoplait a couple of years ago did a program with the Susan Komen Breast Cancer Foundation, and you can see the pink lid on the Yoplait container here, and they said that they would contribute a dime for every Yoplait container with this logo on the top that it was purchased. So it gave people a chance to do something they would normally do, or to try a new product, but also to contribute in a way that was not coming directly out of their pocket, but it made them feel good and it contributed to a worthwhile program. Final project okay, switching gears now. On your final project, again, I want it to be as professional as possible, and I have put up a couple of examples. I'm building one for myself. I'm going to work some more on that so you can see how I would go about this project, but I'm not looking to provide you with a model that you can plug into. I'm just giving you ideas that you can take and reject if you think they don't fit but they may spur an idea for you to build on. So I want you to be as close as possible to a professional presentation that you would give to a client if you were in a PR marketing firm and you were trying to win some business. I want to have all of the critical elements, but pricing and budget. In other words, a creative brief, an overview, SWOT analysis, environmental understanding, environmental statement about what's going on in the industry and specifically for this product segment. And to explain how this links into what you're proposing and the examples of the channels and the messages and some creative. I'm not asking you to become a graphic designer, but do some PowerPoints that highlight some of the activities that you would put forward. It can be a screenshot of a website. It can be a PR, a placement in a news release, is what I'm trying to say, for placement in industry publications, and you want to identify those industry publications. It also may be a small ad that you would put forward, a script for a video or a public service announcement, all kinds of things that you can do. I don't care. It can be skywriting. It can be banners at a tennis tournament, whatever you think fits your model. I'm posting some examples on Blackboard of previous ones from this course, some others that I have found, which I think are good examples. And again, I'm building my diary of the hard seltzer program, and I will post another update to that this week. This is a graduate project about how Home Depot could change its image and be more engaging with female consumers and female do-it-yourselfers. This is the front page of the document and the project overview. It starts with an executive summary, which I think is a good way to do it. I always think of these things as, what would you do if you were handing it to an executive and the executive said, okay, I'll read it on the plane? Well, you want to have the executive summary up front that explains the situation and the ideas that you have. And this shouldn't be more than 2 pages. 3 maybe, but 2 is probably pretty good. And it just shows, 1, your concept, 2, your understanding of the company and the industry, 3, the big ideas that you have, and 4, what you think will be the outcome. And I never promise sales. I never promise incremental market share. I promise knowledge of the corporation, improved loyalty, and improvement of vision or image of the company against competitors. Those are things that we can deeply influence. Sales, well, it's beyond, we can influence it, we can help it, but we can't control it. And so I would never argue about that. This plan does some of that. It says that the goals include a 10% increase in sales. I just don't agree with that from a communications point of view. The final slide I want to talk to you about is the table of contents for this Home Depot project. It has a lot of stuff in it, but you can see it's only 18 pages long. Now, I can hear the voices saying, but how long should ours be? Well, I would say it's about the 12 to 15 range, including the graphics and the examples of what you're doing. And that can take up 4 or 5 pages by itself. So this is a good checklist. It's available, like I said, on Blackboard. I think you can do as well as this person did in a graduate class. That's it for this week. I will see you online next week. No, I won't, because it's spring break. I'm sorry. But I look forward to working with you and making sure that we are developing the best possible projects for this integrated marketing program. Take care. Have a good week. Be safe. Don't get sunburned. And I will see you soon.